Good evening, everyone. We are ready to begin. So I hope that you're now hearing me. So I'm going to just ask that everyone just confirm quickly that you can hear me okay. All right. Camelia, you're still not hearing? Hi, Nikki. Good evening. Marvelyn. All right. Good. Sounds like it's a go. Now, it is my hope that tonight we will be able to learn quite a bit. But before we do so, there's a handout that goes with the class. I'm going to ask that you download the handout by clicking on the link that I sent. I'm going to just try to pin that link. All right, so there's a new pinned message. That link is a link that takes you to our handout, so you can download it and have it for your reference as we go along. Let us begin. So this evening's topic is the 7 keys to getting and staying well. And I'm going to bring it right up for you. All right, so the 7 keys to getting and staying well. Each time we have this class, it gives us an opportunity for persons to share their thoughts, share what they understand, and gives me an opportunity to explain to lay persons, people who are probably somewhat trained in the medical field or probably even medical providers themselves, to understand a slightly different approach to healthcare and about how do we achieve and maintain good health. So as we go through it today, I'm going to ask that if you have any questions, just feel free to raise them. You can just simply indicate in the chat section, and I will, as soon as I see it, try to address it. So my contact information is there on the screen, so please feel free. So the first slide is just a demonstration of or display of what the handout would look like. But the handout is already, it comes pre-filled in, so it's not going to be having these blanks that this one does have. And if you weren't able to download it for yourself, you can always do so now. So all right, so that should have given you enough time. Marcine says she's not hearing, so she might be tuning in at an earlier point. So let me just send her a message for her to fast forward to the live. On the video. All right. There we are. All right, so let us begin. Let us begin. So the topic is 7 keys to getting and staying well. And as we go through these topics, it is my desire that you all understand all that you need to in order to make wise choices for yourself and for your families. So key number 1 is an appreciation of the difference between what we consider to be the healthcare system, which really is not focused on healthy person care, but sick people care. And so I'll make that distinction as we go along whenever we're talking about true health, where persons are achieving or trying or striving to achieve optimal health, versus those who are just simply going about trying to restore themselves back to fair health, and then hopefully later on they can seek after optimal health, which is what the system is really designed for. So sick care versus health care. And when we talk about sick care, caring for sick people, as is the model that is practiced currently in most health facilities, that model is based on first having a symptom or first having the expression of a disease, and then an intervention follows. First the disease and then the intervention will follow, which means that that system at best is a reactive system. And by reactive we mean waiting until something has gone wrong before we try to put in place measures to address that which has already gone wrong. Whereas if your focus is on true healthcare, true wellness, truly optimizing your health, then simply waiting for something to go wrong might not be an appropriate thing to do. It might be best if you try to prevent things from going wrong in the first place. And by prevention, we talk about true healthcare being proactive, meaning that you are putting measures in place in anticipation of, so as to prevent the onset of something that you do not wish to happen from ever happening later on. And so we are trying to be preemptive, if you will, in our attempts at achieving health, or proactive. We're doing something before something goes wrong. And what we do find is that the weakness of the reactive approach is that persons end up spending a lot more money in the long term when they simply react to an illness, rather than if you try to prevent the illness. But the catch to that is, preventing yourself from getting sick requires you to make changes in your lives that may be more financially costly in the short term initially, but will cost far less later on as you reap the dividend of great health. And that is something that I want persons to realize. And when you even look at the hospital settings, the number one reason that people are in the hospitals is because of poor health choices that they made. Some lifestyle choice led to a lifestyle disease. The problem is no drug and no surgery can truly solve a lifestyle disease. The only way to solve lifestyle diseases is to change your lifestyle. And that is what we're talking about today. Being proactive about what you do so as to prevent yourself from getting sick in the first place. As we do so, what we know is that the best way to prevent persons from getting sick, or to prevent ourselves from getting sick, is by adjusting our thought, because we do know that the way we think impacts the way we behave. So if we are crowded mentally or clouded mentally by a thought pattern that is centered around sickness, then sickness will be the result. If we focus our attentions instead on achieving optimal health, then we have to think in a way that will promote that, which is think based on a wellness model of thinking. So you have the two types: sickness or illness way of thinking and the wellness way of thinking. And so with illness care, or with an illness mindset, there are a few things that you will realize are done in a way that's very different from if you were to have a wellness mindset. And these things include the following. Let us say, for argument's sake, you're sick, or you have a headache, or you have a fever, whatever the thing is. The illness way of thinking says this, or asks this question: what do I need to do or what do I need to take, or what can I take in order to feel better? What can I take in order to feel better? If feeling better is our desire, then this is something that may create a problem for us, because if somebody has a means of helping us to feel better, whether or not it helps us to get better, if they have a means of helping us to feel better, then they can always have a product that they can sell us. And the sad thing is that there are many drugs that have the ability to have us feel better in the short term. And that is not good. We, rather than feeling better, we want to ask ourselves a different question, slightly different, and the question goes something like this: what can I do in order to get better? So rather than simply wanting to just feel better, if we ask what can we do to get better, that shift in our thought pattern for many persons is all that we need to do to change our behavior and to change what we seek after. Because if you have a headache, let's face it, extra strength Tylenol or Excedrin migraine or one of those other medications might actually relieve you of the headache. But does it actually solve the real cause of your headache? And the answer is no, it does not solve the cause of the headache, but you will feel good in the short term, and so you'll keep on having to revisit it. The downside about doing that is that these medications come with different effects it has on your body, and some of these effects are pretty damaging effects, like injury to your liver or your kidneys or what have you. So we want to think more in a wellness mindset, what to do in order to get better. Seek after the problem, if you will, and try to solve the real cause of the problem. How about this one? Getting well. I don't know if you've ever used that expression. I have, especially when somebody's in the hospital and you want them to, get well soon. Well, with the whole get well notion, they treat persons who think this way, they treat wellness as if it's a destination to arrive at, that you just automatically achieve this state. That's not necessarily a good thing, because this state comes with its own set of challenges. If we seek after just achieving wellness, we may end up getting frustrated with the process, because sometimes wellness takes a very long time to achieve or attain. And if our goal is the destination, then how we perceive the journey, if the journey becomes long, is with a lot less patience, if you understand what I mean. And so you have these persons who they go on these diets or they want to lose weight and they say, okay, my goal is I want to lose 50 pounds. And so they go on a diet. And as they're losing the weight, they may actually achieve their goal of losing the 50 pounds. But when they lose that 50 pounds, because they've already gotten to their destination, oftentimes whatever efforts they put in the beginning to get there, they stop doing. Or if they do not lose any weight and the weight loss is a slow process for them, then they may get frustrated with the whole journey and decide to just give up altogether. Both of those scenarios are problematic, but those are generally the only two options that are available for persons. Either you get to your destination, in which case, because that was your goal, you ease off the effort, or you focus so much on the destination that if the journey is taking a long time, you give up on the process. Either way, your benefit from your attempt will be short-lived. If instead our focus is not on getting well, but on staying well, then it's a whole different ballgame, it's a whole different approach, a whole different way that your brain will rationalize what it is that you're doing. So if the person who wanted to lose 50 pounds decided instead, my goal is to be as healthy as possible, then every step that they make closer to that goal is incentive to remain on the path. And when they are as healthy as they think they can be, there's always in the back of their minds a knowledge that if they do more, they can be even more healthy. And so having a journey-oriented thought pattern increases your likelihood of being able to stay the course, if you will. All right? So staying well is way more important than simply saying you want to get well, as if wellness is a destination to arrive at. And the last one is, I don't know if you've noticed, but many persons measure how well a system is doing. In this case, our healthcare system. We measure how well that system is doing based on how long people live. And so we say things like, you know what? Japan is doing very well as far as healthcare is concerned because they have the oldest population in the world. Which to some degree that might be true. But that's not necessarily an indication of how good their healthcare system is. In fact, just to say that persons live a long time doesn't mean that the quality of their lives is any better. And I would much rather have the ability to enjoy good quality life, especially as I get older, even if I don't live quite as long as somebody else who might not be enjoying their lives though they are alive. Many persons will tell you very quickly that if they are alive but they can't enjoy their lives, then what's the point? And so we know that the whole point about living is not how long we can stay alive, but it is whether or not we feel alive, whether that quality of life is any good or not. I hope this makes sense to you all, because there is a subtle shift in our thinking between the wellness and the illness care model. In the illness care model, it is feel better, get well, stay alive, versus get better, stay well, and feel alive in the wellness model. And so that feel, get, stay has become get, stay, feel. Very important. Our second key is the understanding pain, the truth about pain. Is pain a good thing or a bad thing? What do we know about pain? And so if we understand how pain works, then we can make hopefully good choices for it. Now, pain has a purpose. Pain has a bad rap. There are many people who hate pain. I mean, nobody enjoys going through it, but there are people who actually hate pain and will do anything to eliminate it. that's not necessarily a healthy appreciation of what pain is because of how important pain is. So let's talk a little bit about pain. I have a question I'd like you to answer for yourselves, and that is this. Is pain a good thing or a bad thing? What do you think? Is pain a good thing or a bad thing? You can always write your answer in the comments below. Is pain a good thing or a bad thing? If it's a good thing, then, indicate. Try your best not to put half and half, some good, some bad. But either way you look at it, whether pain is good or bad, we can all agree that pain has a purpose. Pain has a purpose. Now, the purpose of pain is very simple. It alerts us that something has gone wrong and needs to be attended to. Something has gone amiss. Something has changed in our bodies, in our systems, that we need to pay attention to so as to address. That's what pain tells us. And if we do not have that important warning signal, sometimes we go without knowing that something is wrong and we end up in problems. But the problem is that many people, that's all they do. They simply wait for pain to tell them that something is wrong. And if pain is not there, they assume that everything is right. But that is not true, because you cannot trust pain to always tell you the truth when it comes to how healthy you are. Because there are many persons who have good health, but they do not feel good in a moment, or they may feel good but do not have good health. So if you feel good but don't have good health, how will you know? Because you feel good, right? So how will you know what's happening? And so that is the critical point about how we handle this thing called pain. If we want to understand how healthy we are, we have to look at how our bodies are working. If our bodies are working well, then we are in good health. If our bodies are not working well, we are not in good health. The best measure of how well our body is doing, no, it's not a blood test. No, it is not some diagnostic imaging. The best way is to look at the function of the systems of our bodies. So what are the different systems of our bodies? We're going to go through that in a second, but before we do, just the final note on this section is we now need to start trusting the way that our bodies are working and not necessarily the way that it feels to us. Because sometimes you can have a problem but it doesn't feel bad. Or you don't even notice because there's no pain associated with it. And so you may go along a long journey without addressing the issue. Now, there are many systems in the human body. These systems include the endocrine system, reproductive, the excretory system, musculoskeletal system, nervous system, immune system, digestive system, cardiovascular system, integumentary system, respiratory, and I don't know if I had said endocrine already, but these are the systems of the body. The integumentary system is the system that involves the coverings, the skin coverings of the body. But of all the systems, there's one system that is considered to be the master control system of the body. We call this the nervous system. And it is a master system because it controls and regulates the function of every other system. So let's look at this really quickly, shall we? If you were to look at the spine, what you will see is that all the bones of the spine that are given, these are the bones of the spine in the back, have nerves that exit the front of it and goes to control the different organs and parts of our bodies. So if you look in this middle part right here, you will see that the nerves that leave the upper back, lower part of the neck area, go off to control the heart and lungs. And this is not limited to the heart and lung thing. So that's very important. All the systems of the body have nerves that connect to it. And the spinal misalignments that occur where bones get shifted out of place end up impacting the function of different parts of our bodies. And so there are persons who've been in whiplash accidents, maybe you are one of those people, and you notice that since your accident you start having, let's say, your heart starts racing, or you start having hiccups, or you start to notice that your digestive system has changed. You start having constipation, diarrhea, what have you. Or you notice that you start having migraine headaches or some other neurological issues. These changes all signify that something that impacts the function of these areas must be what is wrong or where the problem is. And if we understand how the body works, then we can start to make sense of it. And the way that it actually happens for the most part is by the control through the nerves of the different organs of our bodies. So subluxations of the spine, which we call vertebral subluxations, is simply a misalignment of the bones of the spine. And if you misalign the bones of the spine, it may impact the nerves that exit between these bones, leading to various types of problems. So this is something very important to be aware of. Now when we look at this picture right here, it shows us 5 bones of the spine. The third bone from the top, which is the middle bone in the picture, if you look carefully, you can see that it's misaligned. But with this misalignment, it disrupts also, and I'm going to try to zoom in a little closer, it also disrupts the cartilage between the bones, which is called the disc. And when that happens, we call it a slip disc or a disc bulge or disc herniation. These are terms that you probably will be familiar with. So if you look carefully, you can see that that bone is clearly out of place, affecting this nerve that exits between it. Whenever you interfere with a nerve, it's called a pinched nerve, and whatever it is that the nerve controls will be affected as well. So this is very important to note. Very, very important to note. Let's move on, because our fourth key is understanding stress. Because if you understand stress, then you can understand how things can impact our bodies. There are 3 general types of stressors: physical, biochemical, and psychological stressors. These stressors have a profound impact on the way our bodies work, and so we have to address these in an appropriate way. For example, if we have a physical trauma, like a car accident or a fall, then usually the best treatment is a physical treatment. Doesn't always have to be, but think of it this way as well. If you've had a fracture because you fell out of a tree, what's usually going to be done? Some doctor is going to operate on you, put the foot in a cast, and send you home to heal. The operation is a physical procedure. The casting is a physical procedure, which accompanies appropriately a physical type of stressor. If there's a biochemical stressor, let's say something that you ingest of a chemical nature, whether we put it onto our skin or into our bodies, then those chemical changes can impact how our bodies work. And the best way to treat a chemical insult is not necessarily with a physical solution, it's with a chemical solution. So if you have toxins in your system, then you may need to do a detox of some kind, which will require you to put in herbs or spices or medications into our bodies in order to purge us of the different toxins that's there. That is a chemical solution for a chemical problem. Psychological issues, if there's a psychological stressor, let's say you just lost the love of your life, or a child or somebody in your life, something has happened that is deeply emotionally charged and impacts you greatly. The best way to treat that is not with drugs. The best way to treat that is with some kind of psychological intervention. Let's say counseling is one such intervention. So matching the type of treatment with the type of problem is important. Now, for most people, if they've had a fall or a car accident, which is a physical insult, chiropractic care is actually a wonderful and excellent, oftentimes, type of intervention to address it. Why is that? Because chiropractic too is a physical type of intervention. So hopefully this all makes sense to you, and we can now move forward because there's so much more to learn tonight. Our general adaptive potential is our ability to adapt to our stresses in our environment. When we fail to adapt, our system will break down and we may get sick, we may get injured, we may get an infection, we may become subluxated. Whatever the issue is, if we do not have enough potential to overcome it, then we will break down as a result of it. So, as is written at the bottom of the screen, our ability to adapt is determined by the width of our gap. Very important. Our ability to adapt is determined by the width of our gap. If you consider the lower limit, every gap must have boundaries that define the gap. In this case, we're using a lower limit as the bottom of the boundary and an upper limit as the top, where the space between them represents that gap. The wider the gap, the healthier you are, because the more you can tolerate before it exceeds your upper limit. The sicker you are, or the closer you are to death, is the less you can tolerate before you exceed your upper limit. The wider your gap is the higher upper limit is, and the more it approaches vitality. That's how you know how healthy you are. Your upper limit approaches vitality. Now, as we look at it, there are two forces that will act on our upper limit to either increase it or oppose it so that it will become decreased. External stressors in our environment is what opposes that upper limit and constantly bears down on it and causes us to falter. Whereas our internal resistance is what we use to push up and maintain ourselves amidst the stressing environment that we might be in. Our life experiences, we hope, operate within the boundaries of our gap, and once it does that, we do not break down, we do not get sick. The only time we get sick is when our upper limit falls, and now experiences in our lives can now overcome that upper limit and cause us to break down. Now, for some families, where this breakdown may occur might be in cancer, or it might be in heart disease, or it might be in diabetes. But depending on your own disposition, your own family makeup, and so on, different things might be easier for you to achieve or acquire than other things. The goal is to increase the gap so that we do not fail to maintain our health. How does chiropractic work? The healthier your nervous system is the wider your gap will be. Chiropractic improves the function of your nervous system, and so one can say it widens your gap. But I wouldn't say that out and out. What I would say to that is chiropractic is just one measure by which you can increase your internal resistance. There are other things that are essential if you want to be healthy. One of those things is obtaining or maintaining adequate nutrition. When you eat well, then your chance of recovery is better for almost anything. When you eat poorly, your chance of recovery is worse. And so there are people who are coming to the chiropractor, getting treated, but not living a good, healthy lifestyle. And so their bodies break down and they do not get well. This is because you have to do more than simply do an adjustment in order to be healthy. We have specialized technology that helps us to identify subluxations wherever and whenever they happen. There's a special tool that we use in our office. The one on the left is called our rolling thermal scanner, and the one on the right is called our surface electromyography. Both of those are used to help give us an idea as to what's happening in the spine so that we can make wise choices to help you and your family members get better. Now, there are many people who question what a chiropractor does. And just so you can understand, if a chiropractor truly impacts the nervous system, then the organ of the nervous system, the main organ, the brain, must also be impacted by what we do. So the question is there any measure that exists that demonstrates this? There are many, in fact. But I like this particular one because it has a nice picture with it. So let's talk about that one. Now, just to look at it, this is a picture of the brain before the adjustment and a picture of the brain after the adjustment. Before the adjustment, what we see happening is the lady was asked to wiggle her left ankle. That's what was asked of her. Please, ma'am, wiggle your left ankle. And they did a before and after functional MRI. The functional MRI, the way that works is that wherever there's activity in the brain, it shows up as areas of lighted activities. And so if you look at the diagram on the left, there are way more lights active in this diagram than this one. Well, she was asked to wiggle her left ankle and all those areas of the brain lit up, versus when she got the adjustment and did the same task, a much smaller area in the brain lit up to complete the task, which means that on the right hand side, that brain pattern is way more efficient than the one on the left. And this is so important, because if you understand this, then it will make sense to you why we need to take care of ourselves, not to get traumatized, because these traumas can impact the way our brain sees our bodies, and or we need to also get ourselves checked for an adjustment by a chiropractor. But you can see how this area of the brain is doing compared to that area of the brain. All right, let's move forward. We say chiropractors are not bone doctors, we are nervous system doctors. And we actually have specialized training, some of us do. All chiropractors are trained to realign the spine, whereas a chiropractic neurologist is able to retrain the brain itself. And so this is very, very important because we actually can use different exercises to impact different parts of the brain that as we so choose. These are some of the conditions that I've personally treated at the office using neurology to stimulate their function. Now, we have a vision here at Gardner Chiropractic. Our vision is threefold. One is to identify subluxation wherever and whenever they happen. Two, to put people on a program of chiropractic care so as to be able to figure out what is the best approach for them to get better. Because different people heal at different rates, and so you can't do the same thing to everybody. So we put people on a program of care based on their own individuality to try to see if we can solve their problem or help them to solve their problem. Now, who's responsible for our health and well-being? The last key answers this question. So the key to success in getting and staying well is for us to take responsibility for our own health and well-being. Very important, because if we do not do that, we are going to set ourselves up for failure, right? We have to be responsible. Your doctor is not responsible for your own health. When your doctors make a bad choice, guess who suffers? So we are ultimately responsible. And whenever you're dealing with your doctors have to understand that your health and well-being is your responsibility. The health and well-being of your family members is also your responsibility if you're not yet. If you have children that you're taking care of, then you are responsible for their own health. If you have parents that you're taking care of, then you're responsible for their health as well. You might be, if you're taking care of them, right? So the choices that we make can impact them. So I'm glad for this opportunity because we get to educate more people so as to ensure that you do not make poor choices. If you go to our YouTube channel online, which that's where you'll be watching us right now, we have many testimonials that we have shared, so you feel free to join in so you can watch these testimonials and hopefully gain a better understanding of how it is that chiropractic works or how we can help persons. So there's a special offer on the table tonight. And this offer is dependent on whether you are signed up here on the, not signed up, but if your name appears in the register. Because if your name appears in the register, then what we will have to now do is to ensure that you indicate if it is your desire whether you want us to evaluate you to see how you're doing yourself. Now, not everyone on this chat is a current patient of ours. So if you are not a patient, we encourage you to do this because there are many people who we find out that something is wrong upon doing this patient health workshop and receiving this offer. Because it makes the bar of entry so much lower. The only challenge is that the wait time to be seen is a long time. A few months in the future. So just be patient, the time will pass, you will get on, and we'll be able to get things sorted out. But we have a 40% discount off our new patient examination for anyone who is interested in taking up this offer. 40% discount. If you are an existing patient, there are a few ways that we offer a little benefit. For every patient that you refer, Well, before we get to that, when you get to the point of your update exam, and the update examination happens at the end of your phase of care. So when we do your phase of care, we reassess you and we make modifications as appropriate before we ask you to continue. Now, if it is that we're going to ask you to continue, we're going to put you on a new phase of care. But that update examination that needs to take place, that update examination, you will receive a 20% discount of that amount. Not only that, you will get a referral discount for any one person that you refer to the office. And the last thing is there's a 10% phase discount for anyone who's going on to a new phase. So these are all important. The 20% update exam discount, the 20% discount of one treatment per person that is referred, and the phase discount of 10% of the entire next phase of care. Bearing in mind that the 10% discount here is actually a lot more money, dollar value, than the 40% discount of the one new patient exam. So those are the things that we discussed. Very important, we need to make sure that you know where to find me. And so if you follow us online, you'll be able to kind of track our ways of doing things a little bit, because we have our YouTube channel for the office. It's Gardner Chiropractic. That's where we did this presentation from. There are Facebook pages. For the office is GCN Jamaica, and we also have a radio program that's also on Facebook called Back to Health Talk Show, where we talk about how to achieve and maintain, sorry, not achieve and maintain, but how to understand different aspects of healthcare and so make wiser choices. Sometimes people just don't understand, so they make a bad choice because they don't understand. But I want people to understand as much as they can so that they can't be taken advantage of and they won't make a wrong decision. Our website address is gcnjamaica.com, gcnjamaica.com. So please watch those for me. And it was indeed a pleasure getting to share with you, like I said before. And I'm going to invite you, if you have any questions or comments and you'd like for me to try to answer them for you, please feel free to write them in the chat. I'll stick around just for a couple minutes. And if there are no questions, then I'll just say goodbye at this point. But it was really, 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 really good. It's really, really good to have been here with you tonight. And I'm going to just read through the comments here, make sure there isn't a comment that I needed to address that I didn't get to. So those are good evenings, good evenings. Many people indicated good and bad for the pain being a good thing. Can a chiropractic neurologist, Dennis Bolaños asks, can a chiropractic neurologist help with autism? And the answer is, to some degree, yes. But there are certain aspects of autism, depending on the severity, that might not change. But to some degree, yes. A lot of chiropractic neurologists do work with autistic kids. I've worked with autistic kids. And I don't promote it too much because the time requires on my part prevents me from being able to do it the way I would like to do it at this time. But at some point, we're going to get some assistance. And when the assistants come, then we'll be able to do it. All right. De nada, Dennis. De nada. Okay. All right, so that's that. I think at this point, since there are no more questions, you have a blessed evening and a wonderful time. It was good to have been here tonight. I went over a little bit, but not too bad this evening. But all the best to you, and I wish that you and yours will enjoy your time in health, and bearing in mind that our responsibility, our health is our own responsibility. No one else. Do not ever relinquish your health to somebody else because you believe they might know more. Because at the end of the day, if they make a bad choice, you're going to suffer the consequences. So you have to be responsible for your own health. Have a good night, everyone, and I look forward to seeing you again very soon when next we meet. Have a great night. Bye-bye now.